Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Thursday stream. We made it. Let's go. How's everyone doing? Hello. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling like riding today. I'm feeling like a chill riding day, some good productivity, some good time to hang out and chat. I got my own lo-fi music playing in the headphones. I got a nice warm hoodie. You know, you need those little things. Those little things that help you just buckle down and focus. How's everyone doing? Atario, we got Margot. Hello, welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining. I have a feeling it's going to be just like a laid back stream today. You know? Just fine. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Oh, man. I think I'll let you guys in for the upcoming live stream stuff. I think tomorrow I want to bring a little chaos to the live stream. Now we have our little group here. We can chat about live stream stuff without anyone else knowing. Pythagoras theorem. Hello. Hello, how's it going? Welcome to the live stream. Big fan of yours as well. I find that your mathematical equation quite useful. Lantern Valley, huzzah. Welcome guys. Oh man, I'm digging it today. Pythagoras, I don't think I've seen you in the chat before. Welcome to the live stream. We have a good time here. Today's a chill day. Other live streams get a little bit more crazy. But today we're going to chat about some story stuff. We're going to talk about editing. We're going to talk about how to stay productive as you write. Some of those basic level things. New subscriber, love to see it. Shout out. Lantern Valley says, also last night I had an awesome breakthrough with both the novel I'm editing and the one I'm freshly drafting. That's progress right there. That is progress. Love it. I always have a couple stories just kind of like dancing around in my head, even if I'm focused on one major one right now. But it feels good to sort of like have that epiphany kind of moment, you know what I mean? Yeah, I was started before Novella November hit. I was working on this urban fantasy book, and I was about 20,000 something words in, and I was feeling pretty good about it. And I kind of started to hit this brick wall. And usually I push through. But this time I was really taken by another idea. And I don't often suggest following your motivation because your motivation is going to pull you in 1,000 different directions. But I leaned into it this time and I made a lot of good progress on this story that has a lot of potential. But then Novella November hit and I was like, I'm not writing this story. I've already started the story. I'm not bringing that to the stream. I'm starting brand new on the live stream. So that's what you guys have seen, a brand new story. Pythagoras says, is it okay if my first story sucks, even after editing and rewriting it? Not only is it okay, Pythagoras, it is expected, common, and a rite of passage. Welcome to the other side. You did it. Welcome to the other side. Look, here's the deal. There's a couple things you have to remember, and actually, this is a pretty good thing for us to talk about in regards to Novella November. All of my writers out there, here's the thing. You will inevitably think, as you're writing your story, that your story is not good, not exciting, not fun to read or experience. I like Eterial's advice here. Make it the worst story you could ever write. Everything after that will feel much better. But here's the deal. Even when I was writing Starlight Farms, right? Starlight Farms Kennel for Talking Dogs, link in the description. Ayo. Even when I was writing this, you spend so much time in the book writing it that everything stops being new. Everything stops being unexpected. Everything stops being exciting because you've been in it for so long, whether that's you actively writing it or whether that's you editing it after you've finished everything and trying to piece things together. At some point, you forget what it's like to experience it being new. And you, as the writer, will never have that experience of reading this thing for the first time ever. That's reserved for the readers. Don't forget that you were excited when you were coming up with this idea, when you were planning everything out. Don't forget that excitement, because that's what those new readers are going to feel. Not when you've been in your book for 20 hours writing all this stuff and you're piecing everything together, or you're in their 6th round of editing and nothing's new anymore. That can bring me down personally, but remember that. Remember that. It stops being new to you because you're writing it, but that's not going to be the reading experience. Keep that in mind. Margo says, I've written a few bad chapters, but I know I just got to keep going and finish. That's the proto draft, baby. The proto draft mindset. Keep pushing, keep writing, get to the end. You can edit it all later. You can't edit a blank page. You've heard it time and time again. You've heard it all the time. You got to get something down so that you can then make it better. And you know what? Here's the thing. So Pythagoras, you said, I feel like my story is not good. Something along those lines. That happens to everyone, first of all. But second of all, even if you start writing a project and you don't complete it, even if you start writing a project and you do complete it, but you hate it, you learned so much writing that story. You started down here, and by the end of that project, you were up here. You will never drop down again. All of the lessons that you learned in writing that first thing, or whatever that latest project was, means that you take those lessons with you to the next book. And writing is always a journey of getting better. Because that's what we do. We get better. And that's a good feeling. Oh, let's do some typical opening stream stuff. Shout out to Pro Writing Aid for sponsoring the live stream. Pro Writing Aid is what I use for all of my editing. It's what I use for editing. Starlight Farm Skin for Talking Dogs. Link in the description. Let's go. I'll stop doing that. You see me use it as I'm writing. You see me talk about it on videos. Today I'm going to run some of these reports on my story just so we can see what it looks like. If you are interested in Pro Writing Aid, there is a upcoming sale that you can get a major discount on. So check out that on their website. I don't know if that stacks with my 10% off description, but you can find that in the description below. Writing Theory 10 at checkout using the link below. You know how it goes. Thank you, Pro Writing Aid, for being in the Writing Theory Corner since the beginning. It's only because of that sort of support I'm able to make all those videos. I'm able to do these live streams. We're able to do it without running a ton of ads. You know all. But hey, love it. Love it. All right. One other thing to mention. We are almost perfectly halfway done with Novella November. I'm the perfect example of being positive. I try to be. I'm a pretty positive guy. We are almost exactly halfway through Novella November. What does that mean for you? It means this is where that motivation starts waning. This is where you start dragging your feet a little bit to get back to your story. This is where, you know, life starts hitting you from all these other different directions. And you're like, I don't know if I want to write today. I don't know if I want to do this or that. Ooh, I have this other fancy idea that I want to start working on. This is when all that happens. But here's the deal, all right? Keep working on this story. Look at how far you've gotten from the beginning of Novella November, and now double that. That's where you're going to be in just 15 days. We've done 2 weeks of live streams. 2 weeks of Novella November live streams, and I've got, how many words do I got here? 16,933. Margot's got 70,000 words. That's insane. We got all kinds of word counts being posted in the Discord below. If you're not part of the Discord already, link below. Come join us. It's an awesome place to hang out and talk about story and share your stuff. All that great stuff. But no matter who you are, this is when all of those little, what's the right word? Distractions start hitting you with your story. Margaret says, I've been feeling that. Writing a list of chapters I want to get to and jumping to the cool ones instead of pushing myself to add filler so it happens later. Non-linear writing, I love it. A great way to stay productive. I feel that way. I did my own non-linear writing, which is, again, just like that fancy word when in reality it just means skipping ahead if you don't know what to write yet. Here in the Shoreline, I started writing this chapter and I was like, I don't quite know exactly how this is going to happen. I just made a note of everything that needs to happen in this chapter, went on to the next one. I knew where the story is supposed to go. You know how. Pythagoras says, how many times should one edit their story, like on average? I probably edited Starlight Farms. I probably read through this entire book 7 times. So that was getting the proto draft down. And then I did an edit to get it to its first draft state. That's like going back and changing some scenes, trying to make the characters a bit stronger. This is probably also planting more seeds earlier in the story that are going to pay off in later moments that I knew should happen. And then after that, I did a silly thing and I rewrote the whole thing, which was not the right move, but I did it anyway. That was my second draft. Then you go through and you reread it to make sure everything makes sense. And then you go through and you edit it for all your words and word choices. And does everything sound great? Does everything look right on the page? Then you go through and you do grammar. I mean, honestly, you could go forever. You could go forever. I'm trying to consolidate that process and get books out the door probably after 4 edits now. And that's doing the proto draft to the first draft to the second draft, copy editing, spell checking, all things like that. I think it is really easy to just keep tinkering, right? Keep tinkering on your story because you want to make it just a little bit better. If I had this one scene, this one other thing will pay off and be a little bit better. If I go do this other, I could twist this character this way. You can get lost in the sauce, my friend. Do not get lost in the sauce. Figure out when to be done. I got a couple videos on that you can check out on the channel. So that was overkill for this book. I'm trying to get my process down to just like 4 and then get the books out the door. Margaret says it also depends on what you're intending to do with it. If it's a hobby thing versus a published book. Very true. Very true. There's different sort of, you can sort of establish different kinds of quality assurance for your own stories. Based on whether or not you're going to put it up on Wattpad or send it off to an agent to try to get it traditionally published. Good point, Margot. Pythagoras says, it is better to focus on 2 to 3 characters when writing a short story, right? It can be. Definitely like short stories, you want to lower your scope a bit, I'm a fan of having a smaller cast of characters in short stories because it means you get to explore those fewer characters more. But also there's different sort of intentions for short stories. And when you do one of our writing challenges in the Discord that we hold every couple months, every 6 to 8 weeks is normally when we try to do it. That time frame keeps changing. I don't know if anyone's heard that. You can participate in some writing challenges that are a ton of fun. Check it out in the Discord. All right. All of that being said, okay, all that out of the way. Let me talk to you a little bit about character stuff. Let's do a little brief here on characters. Someone was very kind in our last live stream. They must have been reading some of the stuff that I had on screen as I was writing. But they said they really liked one of my character named Kendall, who is the love interest in this story. And that was really nice to hear. So whoever said that, I can't remember who said that. Thank you for that. That was very nice. But I wanted to talk about finding that distinctive voice in your characters. And I don't think I have a video on this yet, but I think this would be a fun thing to discuss. I love discussing character stuff because there's so many different approaches and so many different ideas and so many different things that you discover and find out don't work for you, new lessons that you uncover. And I know we got a couple people here who are probably have their own tips and tricks when it comes to characters. So Itariel, Margot, I would love to hear your thoughts also on characters. So the very first thing I want to say I want to talk about this Kendall character that I have in my story. So I feel like I've been able pretty quickly to, at least more quickly than I have in past stories, kind of find a distinctive way that this character acts in the story. And it's kind of an amalgamation of a couple different people that I know. And let me know if this is something that you do or not. But I feel like there is a kind of person I've encountered a couple different times in my life who, when they are with others, their sort of energy is kind of infectious. And part of that is how willing they are to being open with other people and like wanting to develop a relationship and a rapport with people. And part of it is understanding that social interactions include a little bit of performance. I don't know if anyone has encountered people like that, but those people are a lot of fun to be around. And they bring a very specific energy that makes you want to participate with them. And so this wasn't even a conscious choice as I was writing this character, but as I was kind of figuring out how am I going to make, like, I really want the chemistry in this book to be good. I really want the main character who has, you know, a distinctive way of looking at things, but maybe is a little bit bland, to kind of be drawn to this other character in a way that shows more of their personality. Because I think that's an important part of chemistry, is the different ways you connect with people and the different elements of your personality that come out. So in this book, that's one of the really, like, the main things I'm focusing on with the characters. And so far, especially for a proto draft, I feel like I've gotten an interesting sort of connection between my main character and the love interest, Kendall. I want to hear, when you're writing your proto draft, how do you know, or how do you feel about the characters you're writing, and whether or not you're making, what kind of conscious decisions you might be making in regards to your characters that make you excited about your character. That's what I want to know about you guys. Margaret says, too much to write in YouTube chat. This is an exercise in brevity. Quick one is names. How do they refer to others? How do others refer to them? One of my POVs insists on being called professor by students, and they use their last name most times, first name when vulnerable. I've gotten a lot of mileage out of nicknames in other stories using that same sort of idea, right? Who calls this person by their nickname? Who's earned that privilege versus who calls them this other name that seems a little bit more detached, a little bit more formal. Great minds, Margot. They're normally called sir, but the son calls them mommy to make sure that they feel safe with each other. A big exception to their normally strict formality. I love it, Margot. Yeah. I think that that's a really good way to do it. In fact, one of my early videos that got a lot of popularity was on character names, and that was one of the things I talk about is nicknames, formality, distance, vulnerability, and also how it is a shortcut for writers to basically say, let's introduce this new character and see, you know, if they use this very distant person's nickname, showing that there's history between them, as like a shortcut to establishing depth in your novel without having to actually write it. You know what I mean? Very cool to see that you're doing that. Love it. Anyone else have any points that for how you feel about your characters or conscious decisions that you choose to make in your proto draft? Let's be clear, this is a proto draft. There's a lot that's going to change in your story. This is just you getting it out of your head and onto the page. And characters are one of those things that take a little bit of time to like really get to know. Margaret says, yes to nicknames. My setting is the center point between two cultures. First names are from the first and last names from the other, so we can see where each is from based on what they use more often. I have a great point to talk about on that, but I want to see what Aterial says. I totally get it. Meeting people who have a certain energy. I'm also drawn to people with that sort of great humor. Basically, anything I find impressive of other people, I take as inspiration for characters. Isn't that great? That's one of the cool things about being a writer. It almost feels like you are kind of honoring, and this is going to sound kind of weirdly deep. It's not, I promise. You're kind of like honoring those things that you admire in different people in your writing. And it's up to you whether or not you even want to tell them about it. But you're kind of saying that, like, you know, unless you're being like, I'm specifically making my villain evil by basing it on this one single person in my life, maybe don't tell them that one. Don't be like, hey, by the way, you were the inspiration from this genocidal villain I wrote. Shout out. Or maybe do. That'd be kind of funny. Yeah, I think as writers, we have this this idea that we are kind of like, we kind of observe the world, and I don't think it's an active thing. Maybe for some people it's an active thing, and they're like purposely grabbing these little elements of everything around them. But I think that there's this cool thing we do as writers, which is like, when we're telling a story, we get to kind of pick and choose what our favorite parts of life are that we want to include in here, whether that's characters, whether that's settings, whether that's descriptions and atmosphere. That's kind of a cool, like, superpower to have. I promised my best friend to name a murderer after him. That's what friends are for. That's what friends are for. Let's go. That's funny. All right, one cool thing. Margot said she's got these two different cultures. They've got these two different cultures. First names are from one culture, last names maybe for another. A video I'm really proud of that I did has to do with this idea of letter pairings. And I thought this was really cool. I read this Tad Williams book, a traditional fantasy author, sort of a major inspiration to a lot of the modern fantasy we read now. And in creating these like fantastical worlds, one of the shortcuts that this author used, Tad Williams, was that it was very clear that each culture, right, they had their own language, they had their own history, they had their own kind of religions and stuff like that. It's a very in detail world. But in the names, you had very specific pairs of letters that only really existed in that culture, right? One of our main characters, Benebik, is from this group of people who are up in the mountains in the ice. And then we have these like almost Viking kind of German inspired people. And our main characters there are Isgrimnir and Isorn, right? Very interesting. It's just like the way that you can write these names and choose these specific pairings of letters to sort of be a shortcut to helping the reader understand what people were from what culture was like an eye-opening thing to me. Very cool video. I kind of said everything I need in the video. I won't bore you if you happen to have already seen it. But another important thing from that, the very last thing I'll point out is that, because you can just say, oh, that's just like a normal thing that happens with names and cultures. Like, oh, that's nothing special. The special thing is when you add what I call author attention, the little magic dust that an author can sprinkle into their world, and basically say, I'm going to use these letter pairings in my names, but I'm also going to make sure no other characters have names that are close to those things. And because you do that, you sort of draw this hard line with your characters and your readers so that readers can quickly understand who of your characters are from what areas of the world, with these different understandings of religion and history and cultural, like hatred for other groups of people. It's a shortcut that the author uses to help the readers understand this complex world. And I think that's super cool. Maybe not super applicable when you're writing a crime drama set in Alaska, but a great tool to have if you're ever writing science fiction or fantasy. Or vampires or something. Love it. I think it's such a cool concept. All right, all that being said, I think it's time we get some progress done, do some writing, make some words, as our fellow lovely user Coral Sands always says, all words are good words. So let's make some words. All right, I'm turning the microphone off, I'm turning the music up, and we are going for 20 minutes, not 10. We're going for 20 minutes. And I'll see you all on the other side. Let's do it. Good luck, everyone. And we're back. Look at that. Time flies, man. Time flies. Time flies. Good progress. How'd everyone do? How'd everyone do? I'm up to 17,790. Hey, almost 1,000 words. Terrio has 516. Let's go. That's awesome. Lantern Valley is again struggling with peanut butter. That's a tough one. Tough one. That's a tough L to take, Lantern Valley. Random Writer says, your prose is very similar to mine. Hey, great minds think alike. Great minds think alike. 516 words. Love to see it. Also, speaking of, we were just talking about using nicknames as like a shortcut to establish history between characters. Who gets to call someone this nickname, who doesn't? I just found myself unintentionally doing that. I had already established in the very first chapter that the sheriff of our story here, his name is Gabriello Sulu. He's of Filipino ancestry. And those close to him call him Gabby. And our main character has already been told, don't call him Gabby, you have to earn it, right? Well, the coroner who's coming in to do the autopsy for this body, who's inevitably going to participate in the cover-up, calls the sheriff Gabby. Uh-oh. There's some history there. I wonder if this person might partake in the... Of course it is. I already told you it is. But for the reader, hopefully, once you've already it's already been exposed that there's some cover-up happening, now that the coroner is coming in and calls the sheriff Gabby, seems to know a little bit more personally about these characters that are going to be doing this sort of thing. It's gonna put them on edge, you know? Not like on edge as in like, oh no, what's gonna happen? But more like, oh god, there's more of the same. More of the same. Margot, 640 words in. Nice, nice. Lantern Valley says, time to share naming conventions. We were just talking about names in regards to like, well, we were talking about characters more than anything. Talking about sort of when you're writing, what are those things that you write about your characters, like the intentional choices that you make? A lot of it comes unintentionally, but there are some intentional choices. I had to name a character. I named the coroner Ryan Underwood, which I might need to Google to see if there's already some big celebrity out there named that. But I thought Underwood would be a good name for a coroner. A little Undertaker vibes. But then I might find out Ryan Underwood is like someone I don't want to include in my story. Let's see, let's do it. This is always a good... Writers, warning. After you name a character, maybe Google the name and see what happens. All right, I think we're in the clear. It's just one bodybuilder named Ryan Underwood. But also a fairly common name. Nothing super special about it. Lantern Valley, do you have some naming convention stuff that you want to share? Let me know. Oh, do I ever. All right. Hit us with it. Gav, welcome to the chat. Hello, hello. Happy to see you here. JPB, hello. Wow. A wave of familiar names. Always exciting to see. Welcome to the chat, guys. Welcome to the chat. I am not totally certain the names that I have in my story are going to stick yet. I feel pretty good about the name Kindle. I've always kind of liked that name. But right now, I just kind of have a cookie cutter name for my main character, Adam Harlow. Not sold on that one yet. Not sold on that one yet. Got Brent Carpenter, the mayor, just like a old business white guy. Deputy. Not sold on Adam Harlow, though. Not sold yet. Shout out Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves in chat. Wouldn't that be crazy? I think he's probably too busy to join a live stream at noon Central. Gav says, a couple of my names are real, and some of them are hashed together from bits of Greek and randomness. Now, here's the question. What genre are you writing? Because that also has a huge effect on the kind of names of your characters. Mine's just Whittier, Alaska, so I can't bring in any too crazy names, right? But if I was writing fantasy, if I was writing science fiction, then you get to have some fun. And I like to do that too. Of course, I've done a video on doing character names before, my most popular video. And of course, one of the ways I like to start is I go to Google Translate. I start sort of hunting through a couple of different languages for words I kind of want to associate with the character. And that's just a starting point for me. That's just something I like to do. It kind of feels like that name has a little bit more intentionality behind it, even though the end result may seem totally random to a reader. What do we got? Lantern Valley says, the book is titled The Soft Wings of the Spiritually Amphibious. When a person spiritually evolves, they get a second name. That sounds like fun. And my main character doesn't want to be involved or evolved. Looks like we got lots of stuff here about character names. Margaret says, I've got some names I may have to legally distinctify, because they're also fairly common names. Just throw in your boilerplate, any characters presented in this, similar to real life counterparts, are fictional, blah, 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 blah. You can name your character Conor McGregor. What's he gonna do about it? Well, he might do something about it. Might punch you, I don't know. JPB says there's a sci-fi author, can't remember whose names aliens by taking words and removing the first and last letter. A writing theory written pure. That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. It kind of makes something feel, it has a little bit of familiarity, but it's not quite right. That's a pretty cool method. Everyone names their main character spiritual name from the beginning. Okay. Yeah, my excuse for the Greek is that there were aliens that visited Earth and at some point brought bits of their language. That's a cool idea. Both of these ideas are cool. Gav, I like that. I like retconning Greek. Retcon the Greek. Lantern Valley says everyone's names a main character by the spiritual names at the beginning, trying to force them to evolve. You got some, you could take this in the YA dystopian divergent Hunger Games Maze Runner style. It feels like there's some of that element of like, this is what you're supposed to do. This is the role you're supposed to play. And they're like, no, I'm not gonna do it. Down with the adults. Okay, maybe that's a little melodramatic. Random Writer says, I'm writing a fantasy and one of the MC's names is Asher. That's just the first name, popped in mind for a placeholder. Now I'm attached to the name, can't find a different one. That is okay. That happens. There is a little bit of danger in the placeholder name because of that. But honestly, if you write it and you get attached to it, it's your story. Have that character be Asher. I'm not attached to Adam Harlow. Not yet. So we'll see. Honestly, I'm more attached to Ryan Underwood than I am Adam Harlow. Now, I'll probably play around more with this main character's name. I want to have there to be, some hint at who this character is meant to be, right? So I'll probably play with the theme of like some kind of outsider. I'll probably play with the theme of seeking justice. I'll probably play with some elements of that to kind of find a name that means a little bit more to me. I do have to tell you, I love this. I'm so glad we're talking about character names. There is like this, almost like a Wordle style game, but it's all about box office movies. And so I was playing this, and you have to guess what, for July 7th, 2007, here is the top 5 box office movies. You can get a little bit of information, like who was the star actor, or like what genre is it, and you try to guess what those movies are. Really fun. Love it. It's called Box Office Game. boxofficega.me. But one of the movies, I saw the description for the movie after I had finished the game, and it had literally what I would consider to be the worst character name that I maybe have encountered in all of fiction. In all of fiction. And it was a Mark Wahlberg like shooter movie. The movie was called I can't remember what the movie was called, but I do remember the character name. The character was a post-army. He was a sniper in the military. He's gone to live a secluded life, but they've called him back in. He's the only one who could save the day. So they picked up the phone. They dialed it, right? I'm giving you a little dramatic retelling. They dialed that phone. He answered, and they said, Bobby Lee Swagger, we need you. The dude's name is Bobby Lee Swagger. Dude, 2007, different time. That name sucks. Let's all agree. Let's all agree. Do not name your main character Bobby Lee Swagger. I'm sorry. And this is 2007, prime time where, you know, the Justin Biebers of the world were talking about swag. Bobby Lee Swagger. Are you kidding me? Let me find Bobby Lee Swagger. Hold on. I got to prove to you. And you know what? Here's the thing. If this is based on a real person, sorry to the Bobby Lee Swaggers out in the world. Oh my God. He's been represented in movies more than once. Also, I was incorrect. His name is Bob Lee Swagger from the movie Shooter. And then reprised again from the TV show Shooter based on a 12 novel series. And his dad, Trooper Earl Swagger. And the mother, June Swagger. Bro, not good. Mary Swagger. Oh, God. That's a bad character name. That's a bad... Right? Am I being too critical? Am I the problem? Let me know. An expert marksman living in exile is coaxed back into action after learning the plot to kill the president. In a world where Bob Lee Swagger lives in exile, one man can save the president. Bobby Lee the Nailer Swagger. I hate it. That's bad, dude. That's bad. And you know what? It'll be more successful than anything I ever write. Shout out Bob Lee Swagger. Terrell says Lily Blossom Bloom is also wild for a character who owns a flower shop. Is that like, I feel like that's something you would encounter. Hold on. I've heard of this before. Terrell, what is that from? Is that from like a Colleen Hoover book or something? Lily Blossom Bloom? Brutal. That's crazy. That's crazy. It ends with us. I knew it. Look. I'm not going to... I have made fun of Colleen Hoover in the past. I'm not going to do it anymore. That's a bad name. First off, okay, let's get one thing clear. If you are named in real life Lily Blossom Bloom, you better go into being a florist, because with a name like that, that would be it's like dress for the job that you want. You never had a choice, right? You were given a name for the job that you're destined to have. You gotta be a florist. Florist? No, it's gotta be florist. Also, some names in the future might end up, oh no, but today they're totally fine. You never know. You never know. Never know. Yeah, Random Writer says the name Bob Lee Swagger, it makes the already goofy pitch sound even goofier. The thing is, like, Bob Lee Swagger, all three names could be improved very easily. All three. There's not a failure of just one of those things. Swagger as a last name, bad. Bob Lee kind of sounds like, almost like it's a caricature. But you know. My cousin was expected to become a teacher because her last name is the German word for teacher. Yeah, you know, I guess I should name my child. President, Scientist, Lawyer. the third. Really give them a chance to diversify. You know what I mean? Or rock star, bartender. Rock star, bartender, bounty hunter. The last name's hyphenated, of course. That would be sick. Could you imagine growing up named rock star, bartender, bounty hunter? And then being like, what else am I gonna do? Just have a sick life. I'm just gonna choose to have a sick life. Lander Valley, if you want like a court with roses in your fantasy world, you can't title it A Court of Roses anymore, even if it would be perfect. All right, here's the deal. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I have very limited knowledge on the Sarah J. Maas universe. A Court of Thorn and Roses is a book where there are multiple courts that exist. Like the Court of Twilight, is that a thing? And the Court of... There's like all these courts, right? It's like spring, right? Is there a Court of Thorn or Roses at all in that book? That's all I'm saying. That's a misnomer. Maybe if it was Bob Swagger Lee and the Swagger was a nickname. But unfortunately, his nickname is The Nailer. Dude's nickname is The Nailer. That's a terrible nickname. Everything about it is bad. Brutal. Okay. All right. I think we've had enough fun making fun of Bob Lee Swagger. I mean The Nailer. Hey, Bo in chat. That's a cool name. How come we don't see more Bows in fiction? That's the real question. I guess Louisiana nicknames don't quite get used too much, but people use Bob Lee the Nailer Swagger. And yet, no Bo representation? That's a crime right there. That's the crime. That's the crime. All right, we are about at the point to do some more writing. About at that point. Channel your internal Bob Lee the Nailer Swagger. All my lily blossom blooms in chat. It's time to write. And if you choose to include a Bob Lee the Nailer Swagger in your story, more props to you. More props to you. All right, 20 minutes going on the clock. Another writing sprint. Make some progress. Enjoy it. Listen to the lo-fi music. You know the deal. You know the deal. I'll see you guys in 20 minutes. Microphone going off. Lo-fi music going up. Random writers aiming for 800,000 words in 20 minutes. We call that Margot style. And I'll see you on the other side. right, the second sprint is done. How'd everyone do? What kind of progress did you make? I'm now sitting at 18,380. 18,380. Wolvie, hello. Yo, Eterio. We got 580 new words. That's some fast progress. Good job. 580. Wow. Eterio, what's your total word count at? Because I think this was, if I remember right, you're working on a story that you were already working on before November. Correct me if I'm wrong. Margot says chapter is at 1,200 and total word count is at 73,000. Whoo! Random writer, I wrote like 50 words. To be fair, I got distracted. Hey, we all need lunch. We all need food. Wolfie says join for one quick 20-minute session. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for joining. It means a lot. Always nice to see you in the chat. In 20 minutes, one quick 20-minute session is 20 minutes of writing. Not bad. I haven't been keeping track of the amount of words I write per 20-minute session, but I got 1,400 throughout this live stream. So I think I'm pretty reliably at like that 700 word thing. Terrio says, I got no clue about my total word count. Really bad at tracking them down. Are you still using Scrivener or are you writing in like Google Docs or something with different documents? I know that you downloaded the trial at least. I don't know if you got the whole thing yet. Wolvie says, probably will continue after the stream, but made time just to be here. Dude, that is awesome. I really appreciate that. Yeah, do some writing after the stream. You know, we got the live stream going on tomorrow, and I was just telling the chat earlier today, I'm feeling a little bit of some live stream chaos for tomorrow. Maybe that's because it'll be Friday. Friday we can have a little bit more fun. But if you can make it then tomorrow to the live stream, should be a good time. Do some writing after the stream today, though. A little bit more progress. Hey, Ataro says, I'm converting everything to Scrivener. Really love the program. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah. You know, writing tools. Always interesting. It's also especially interesting being a content creator in regards to writing tools. I try not to like... I get a lot of emails about sort of these kind of flash in the pan kind of writing tools. Things that are like, especially very AI driven. And so I don't work with a lot of the emails that come in. And so I'm always kind of careful about the writing tools I want to kind of promote. I only promote the ones that I kind of have used and am kind of impressed by. Like, you know, we did Novelpad. Well, actually, Etero, you might not have been there for this, but a couple months, maybe last month and a half ago, we did a writing challenge through the Discord, and I worked with a writing tool called Novelpad, which has some similar elements to Scrivener, but it's cloud-based, which is one of the things that Scrivener doesn't do well, right? If you had multiple machines and, you know, you wanted to be able to write on your phone versus on your laptop versus on your tablet or your desktop, Scrivener is not good for that. But Novelpad has a lot of similar elements, especially to how you organize your story and these different kind of things. And it's cloud-based, so you can do that. And so that was something I talked with their team a lot about. They even added some very interesting features that we could take advantage of in our community. And we did that, and it was really cool. And then we have ProseWrite, which is one of the things that we have going on the Discord right now. For anyone who wants to try transcription, I have a fever dream that I could be such a productive writer if I did one of those transcription things. I have a fever dream that I could write so many great stories if I could write at the rate at which I speak. And if you found on the live stream, most of the time I'm pretty clear in how I want to present what I'm saying. I think there's a very similar muscle between, you know, forming your words as you speak versus being able to form your words as you type quite quickly. Day Swaller says got 343. That's progress. Gav, only got 164 words. No, you didn't only get 164 words. You got 164 words. Ain't nothing bad about that. Wolfie says, I believe you use AI for writing. It's not your story. It's a pretty complicated discussion. You know, can you use AI for writing prompts and write your entire story based off prompts? Does that make you less creative? Is it less creative to use writing prompts to write? Is it weird if the AI creates the writing prompts? Could you use AI to create an entire plot framework with a ton of detail and then creatively write everything about it? Is that less creative? Big discussion, hot topic. I try to avoid it when we talk about it. I come from a tech background. I was in, you know, these software startups in the rise of OpenAI and ChatGPT. And I was in the trenches as all of these tech companies were like, we need to shove AI into our product as fast as we possibly can. We need to have AI be a feature in every aspect of our product, whether it needs it or not. If someone else has AI in this product, we need to have AI in our product so that other people don't see our product as less than these other things. It was a crazy time for all of that. And so I have a very different perspective on it because I was in those companies who were also doing this thing, being like, you know what? We have a tool that does like a slightly predictive thing. We never would have called it AI before now, but now, marketing wise, we have to call it AI. Because if we don't, then we're missing out on the market and blah, 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 blah. Now, none of these things were like creative endeavors, right? These were all like companies that were sort of business to business, creating products for other, you know, businesses to be able to perform better, quote unquote. So I avoid the discussion pretty much entirely, but I also choose to not work with a lot of AI tools when it comes to writing. Not even because I personally think that's good or bad or worse or anything like that, but because a lot of them kind of feel like quick cash grabs. I only work with the ones that really feel like they're trying to create a long-lasting, productive tool for writers, whether there's AI in there or not. Scrivener, no AI, just a writing platform that is dope. I know some folks who use it to spell check. All right, Mario, I cannot go on this tangent. I cannot go on this tangent. Spell checker has been an algorithm being used that would now be marketed as artificial intelligence for 15 years, maybe longer. You've been using that since you opened up Microsoft Word and saw the little red squiggly line. That's using that same sort of algorithm to say, based on the context around the word that you typed, based on the keys near each other on your keyboard, based on what would naturally fall in this place, we think you are trying to write this word. And a lot of those same algorithms now are called artificial intelligence, natural language processing. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop. All right. We will not continue down this path. True humans have had a hard time being truly original. Atero says, I mean, we get inspired by so many things, like a movie scene, a line in a song. How original are our ideas in the end? Using AI for prompts seems like the same. This is why it's tough, because different people are going to feel different ways about the same information and see it a bunch of different ways. I gotta stop myself. All right. AI is a misnomer of itself. I'll give you the very brief tech thing about AI, the tech breakdown. Before AI was the buzz term, you may have also heard something like machine learning. Machine learning was basically what we see of as AI now, but it was present and a very acceptable thing for a long time in tech. It was, let's have an input, a series of decisions, let's give it training data, and then hopefully it's coming out with the correct output. We're going to give a bunch of photos that have a red ball in the image. We're going to give that to this machine learning program that's going to look at the image pixel by pixel, figure out how many red pixels there are, what proximity to those red pixels are other pixels, and come out with whether or not it thinks there is a red ball in this photo. We're going to give it a bunch of training data, we're going to train it, and now we're going to show it new things. We're going to show it new pictures and have it say whether or not it has a red ball in it. Right? That was machine learning. Right? And then they got more complicated. There is now more decisions being made. And then all of a sudden we have AI now, especially because we have something that's so generative and natural language processing has gotten so good. But you've been using machine learning since the 90s. It's been around since well before then and been present on things like websites through things like PHP, which is just like a templating tool, but like it's been around forever and you've been using it forever. All right. All that being said, Pythagoras, welcome back. Hello. AMG instead of OMG. All right. All right. All that being said, we got to separate ourselves. We got to end it. We're going to go. All right. So, here's a question for you guys. So I have a video coming out tomorrow. I got to do the thumbnail for this video still. Let me double check what video is coming out tomorrow. I think it's tropes and cliches. I mean, look behind the scenes. Because I want to ask you all a question. Tomorrow we have the video going out for Use Tropes, Not Cliches. Working title. Here's a question for you all. While I have you here, by the way. Here's a question for you all. My question is, do you consciously think about tropes or cliches? And let me know in chat if you aren't quite sure what the difference is, or if you've heard about tropes but it's never been described to you. If you're fuzzy about any of that. Do you consciously think about any of these things? Because they are kind of abstract, overarching concepts. Do you ever think about those things? Pythagoras says, not really. Really? Random Writer says, no, not really. If I accidentally write them, then I acknowledge it and move on. So that's more of like a subconscious kind of thing, right? You're just writing. But then like, so here's the tough thing, right? Tropes are something I do consider when I'm planning a story. Gav says, I never really think about tropes. Cliches, in case you aren't more... Oh, you know what? Great Grump says, is a trope more of a meta where a cliche is more specific? You know what? You kind of unlocked part of the video tomorrow. Tropes tend to be very kind of abstract concepts. Like, I'm going to write a Chosen One story. The Chosen One is a trope. It's a kind of story we've experienced before. It kind of informs us about what the story is going to be about. It kind of brings its own set of expectations. And then you could say, I'm going to subvert the Chosen One trope, which has also been done before and is also its own trope of the Unchosen One, which you can find on tvtropes.org. When I am planning a story, actually, before I do that, cliches tend to be a lot more specific and a sign of almost like lazy writing or like a crutch for a specific moment you're trying to develop. I'll tell you right now, the cliche I experience most often in my consuming of media tends to be one in TV, and maybe that's just because there's so many TV episodes, but I'll tell you specifically, the one that drives me craziest is when, let's use House MD, the TV show House, as an example, because every single episode has what's called the Eureka moment, which is, I can't crack the case, I can't figure it out, I cannot, I don't know what to do, this patient's about to die. And then you're talking to a completely random person, and they're like, yeah, I really like that song, 99 Red Balloons. And then House goes, hold on, let me bring you in. House goes like this. That's it. And then it turns out this person had a latex allergy, and all the doctors have been wearing latex gloves around them. That was the whole time. That was what was killing them the whole time. How would we have figured that out? Oh, thank God that one person told us about how much they love 99 Red Balloons. And that innocuous statement unlocked the mysteries of the human body for us to solve it. A cliche, this is the cliche. It is a specific point in a story that it is much more specific than a trope. Even though there are specific tropes, a lot of times we talk about tropes in the ideas of the kind of story that this is, or the kind of character someone is, or the kind of plot that something has. While cliches tend to be, that was a cliche line of dialogue. Now it's personal. Or that was a really cliche moment where we thought the character was dead, but they weren't. Or that was kind of a cliche moment that big stack of photographs our love interest gave our character about their childhood that they put in their breast pocket. They then got shot right in that stack of photos and it didn't kill them. It saved their life. You're like, was the whole point of that just to have that one moment? That's been done better in other places. That's kind of a cliche. Or the, oh my God, they're right behind me, aren't they? And then you turn around and they were right behind you. Those cliches tend to be more specific kind of moments. But I find a lot of use in the idea of tropes and planning a certain kind of story. So for example, I went over to TV tropes. I even show you this exact thing. Let me open it up here. I went to TV tropes just to look around TV tropes. Because I knew I wanted to do kind of like a mystery crime kind of story. And so I was poking around the genre of sort of like the sleuth or the mystery story. Mystery tropes. So here's TV tropes. Let me share my screen here. So damsel in distress is not a cliche. You're getting at this is the tough thing to talk about these things. So first off, everyone's actually going to have a different idea for what a cliche is. Because a cliche is some specific, usually more specific trope that now has negative connotations to it. Typically because it's been overdone or it's been overdone poorly, specifically poorly. So damsel in distress, I would call a trope, not a cliche, because it's also typically a like, this character is a damsel in distress. Has that been done poorly in the past? Oh, for sure. For sure. Especially in, the however long in Hollywood that we had where a character was purely defined as being just a damsel in distress with no additional depth. Just an object to be saved. That's definitely a cliche nowadays. Whether or not, if you include a character that's just there to be the damsel in distress to be saved, versus a trope would be saying like, I'm going to have a character that hopefully has a lot more depth than that, but is also a damsel in distress and is also like a, something a little bit more. So there are definitely times where there's the idea that like, here's a single idea. It could kind of go either way. But it's based on how you feel about it. Because what I might consider to be a trope might be different than what someone else kind of... Oh, sorry, cliche. I probably have misspoken that a bunch. What I might consider to be a cliche, because I've been exposed to it a bunch, may be somewhat novel still to someone else. Especially when you go from genre to genre. I don't watch any anime. And what little anime I have seen, with all the characters going... in those moments where no one's talking, that's to me would be a trope and a cliche. It's like a classic thing of the genre, but it's something that drives me crazy every time I watch an anime. But there's so much more to that genre that people who watch a lot of anime have been exposed to and see cliches versus someone who goes to that genre for the first time, starts watching something and is now seeing like, wow, this tournament in this Yu Yu Hakusho, this tournament that they're doing is so cool. Like, I've never experienced something like this before. I love the storytelling in the tournament environment. I want to see more of that. That's a trope to that viewer because they haven't seen that in any of these other animes. And then someone who's seen 50 different anime series that have all done this tournament style of storytelling, maybe they still like it. Maybe they're like, I cannot do another dang tournament. Kind of see what I say. There's also art archetypes are tropes of characters. You can kind of just sum it down to there. An archetype of a character would be like the detective seeking justice. It's a trope or a character, also called an archetype. So you can just summarize, you know, an archetype is just a word for a trope character. What's cliche or not will change inevitably with time. What's a trope or not won't. They're just things that exist, idea piles that are common. Ignore them or not doesn't matter. I think they can be useful. I wouldn't completely ignore them. I do 100% agree that it all changes, right? But I think that there are some tropes that are worth paying attention to. And so what I did was I was kind of curious. I was like, I'm going to tell a mystery, but I don't really know much about mystery. I think I ended up maybe on detective fiction. Is this where I was? I can't remember where I was. But basically, I also like considered what are the mystery stories I like? What are the tropes that were associated with them that made me like that story, that I felt were novel, that I felt were done well? And in doing the research into these specific sort of story beat moments or story ideas, is there anything there that I would want to include in my story that I maybe didn't think of right away? Right? Do we need to have a character who is the red herring, the obvious suspect who clearly actually didn't do it when you find out by the end of the novel? Do we need to have red herring moments in this sort of mystery crime thriller story I'm writing? Do I want to include that because that's the story I want to tell? Or is that an essential trope to the genre that if I don't include, readers will feel like something's missing? Sean Coyne from Storygrid says there's things like that. I don't know if I fully agree with it, but it's an idea to consider. Grump says, sounds like it would be useful to pay attention to tropes during revision for like advice on your theme. Then you can polish the use of it. That's a pretty interesting idea. You could definitely do that. I think the idea of considering tropes is something that is beneficial in the planning stage. Maybe the editing stage, like you're saying, but definitely not while you're writing. You got enough to focus on while you're writing. Don't go out of your way to start trying to shoehorn things in there. Yeah. Wolby says, in anime, there's a genre called isekai, where the MC gets transported to another world, and most of it's all the same. The MCs, because they become the strongest. Sometimes it gets boring, but they are good. Yeah, I'm familiar. I think there's I'm not sure which ones I would have been exposed to, but I know that's a very popular style of storytelling right now. It's a very trendy thing. So yeah, I don't know. It's something to explore if you've never done it before. You can kind of get like an interesting kind of idea for your story. Something maybe you wouldn't have considered before. Just by looking around. Plus, it just makes you think of your story in different ways, and that's always a good thing. Big fan of TV tropes. But like I said, something that's more of an abstract concept, something you could look at in the planning stages. Like Grump was saying, maybe in the editing stage, right? If you're going to try to sort of find, you have your story, are there any things that you can naturally include there that kind of fit with the theme that might be tropes in the genre? There you go. Maybe something to consider. Isekai is popular for the opposite reasons in China. The main character doesn't know why they were transported, but all the other characters do know. Interesting. Very interesting. I would like to one day do a video on anime storytelling. I just know other people will always do that video better as someone who has not explored the genre in the depth needed to do that kind of video. Same thing with fan fiction. I would love to do a video on like the literary significance of fan fiction for the literary significance of fan fiction in like modern fiction. Because we do have a bunch of stories that have been popular that all started as fan fiction. And a lot of writers get their first exposure to writing fiction by doing fan fiction. I think it'd be really cool to sort of do a deep dive into that. Grump says, maybe do a collab with someone. I would love to. I would love to to collab with more writing YouTubers. Hard to do. I've reached out to a couple. I've even started a Discord channel to slowly bring in other writing focused YouTubers so that we can work on bringing collaboration into the space. I got focused on other things, but over the next couple months after we're done with Novella November, I'm going to really try to focus. I think it could be good for the entire writing YouTube space. All right. The Omegaverse. Omegaverse. What is the Omegaverse? Let's talk about it after. We have 10 minutes left in our live stream. Let's do a quick 10-minute sprint, and then Aterial's going to show us all what the Omegaverse is. No pressure. All right, 10 minutes. Microphone going off, music going up. Let's do it. And with that, the final sprint of the day. A quick one to be sure, but a productive one. At 18,645. 18,645. If you like this Pomodoro style of writing, this is a very popular time management technique. It's awesome. It is super useful. Tutorial 300 words. Good pace. Good pace. You can find timers all over the place. Lantern Valley says Pomodoro. What? Oh, let me enlighten you. Pomodoro is a style of time management to help you have dedicated focus time and then like a little bit of a break. And that sort of going back and forth between the two lets you be more productive over a longer period of time, as opposed to just putting your head down and, in this case, writing until exhaustion, right? Traditionally, it's 25 minutes of work and then a 5-minute break. You can adjust those numbers based on your own sort of work rate, work pace. If you like doing this kind of writing, I made a whole website for this. You can find Pomodoro timers all over the place. I made something called PromodoroTV.com that lets you go in here and put in different YouTube videos and use that Pomodoro time system to alternate between the two. Like, I'll throw on this lo-fi hip-hop playlist. Very easy. Just like what we're doing right here. And in this case, the filler video is a Taylor Swift music video. But you can put whatever YouTube videos you want in here. So, like, if you knew, like, a really, like, influential, talented, funny, charming writing YouTuber and you wanted to consider elements of your story during your break time, you can go grab that URL, paste it in here, and submit, and bring that up just like that. And now you choose your time values that you want to use here. You hit start. You get one video, your focus time video for 25 minutes. After that 25 minutes, it switches to the other one, and then back and forth. You can do live streams. You can do YouTube videos. I like putting in longer form YouTube videos, especially for my break time, as opposed to having to get additional YouTube URLs. But Pomodoro TV, I made it. I love it. It's not perfect. It's just like a thing I whipped up last year. I use it all the time, though. I get some of my most productive writing doing writing with this sort of time management, and I love YouTube. So, boom, there you go. Pomodoro TV. Feel free. Wolvie, 175 words. Gav, 195. Very nice. Very cool. Good progress. Lantern Valley says, I do that naturally with 20 to 40 minute kitchen timers, since I noticed long ago that you like it best. That's so funny that you say that, because the whole idea behind it is that Pomodoro, I believe, was Italian, maybe Japanese, is the name of some tomato-shaped kitchen timer that it was named after, because there you go. Yeah, Day Swaller, Mumfrey Bug says the name Pomodoro is from a tomato-shaped kitchen timer. There you go. Very useful. You can use it in all kinds of different ways. I used to use it for coding and programming. I use it for writing now. It's just a good way to be focused and stay fresh. Also, additional little tip. A lot of times I am sort of distracted by wanting to play on my phone. Simply knowing that there is a break coming up soon, when I look at my phone and I want to go play on my phone and do something like that, I just am able to tell myself I'll be able to do that thing in my 5-minute break in 7 minutes. And it is so easy to ignore those kind of distractions when using that time management technique. Big fan. Pomodoro TV is my website. You can find a million different timers online that use the Pomodoro management. So yeah, that's it for the live stream. I'm going to go have lunch with my wife. Before I leave, thank you to Pro Writing Aid for sponsoring the live stream. It means a lot that they would sort of take this gamble on these live streams. I didn't fully know what the resulting sort of interaction and engagement for this thing was going to be. Everyone in chat has been so pleasant and awesome and fun to hang out with. Every time I do one of these, I have a great time. I hope you do too. I hope you make a lot of productivity, efficiency, progress on your novel, on your story. Make sure to post your updates in the Discord. You know I love to see them there. And we will be live tomorrow in our different time slot. If you can't make it then, I'll see you on Tuesday next week. That's all I got for you. I hope you had a good time. Hope you made good progress. I ended up with 1,700 words at the end of the whole live stream. Maybe I'll do some more writing today. Maybe I won't. I feel pretty productive already. Have a great rest of the day. I will talk to you all in the Discord. And I am just always so appreciative that you take your time out of your schedule to come hang out with me. As long as you keep showing up, so will I. Have a great rest of the day. Goodbye, everyone. Let me put this on my ending screen so you can see it. All right, you are all the best. Take care. And if I don't see you tomorrow, have a good weekend. All right, goodbye. Bye.